They say it doesn't matter what pen you draw with, and in my experience that is not true. Most important is that you draw a lot, but the pen you use matters a lot too when it comes to how much fun it is to draw with it, what lines will look like, and whether you like the lines. Your preferences will differ from mine, and I will list some properties pens can have so you can decide for yourself. Here are a few things to consider when choosing a pen. 1. How it holds. Some pens are big, some are small, some are heavy, others are light, and some are balanced or not. For drawing, especially for sketching, you will probably want something that feels light, like a pencil, but your taste may vary, and you might prefer something bigger and heavier. I like to hold the pen away from the tip, almost horizontally, and use it as if I am painting lines with it. How you prefer to hold a pen matters because you cannot hold most pens in any way. Most fine liners, for example, cannot be held horizontally. Thing number 2. Line quality. I prefer to build up a drawing using thin lines. Others may appreciate a pen with more flex and more line width variation. The wider the tip, the more freely the ink will typically flow. This is a problem for me because I want thin lines and good ink flow. Another option is to draw with brush pens. These allow for even more line variety and tend to produce smoother lines. Pens with nibs tend to create hooked, sharp lines. Which one you prefer is a matter of taste and something to consider for each drawing because different line qualities create different feelings in the viewer. For that reason, you might want to use other pens for various pieces. Thing number 3, ink flow. I love good ink flow. Nowadays, I find it delicious if the pen just sensually glides over the page. I used to appreciate the scratchy feel of some dip pens, and this may be for you too. Tastes differ and may change over time. Number 4, light fastness, waterproofness, resistance to fading. If you want to use watercolor with your line art, the waterproofness of the ink matters. Some ink fades over time or when exposed to sunlight. This is unimportant if you're sketching or only want to scan and use the art digitally. However, for finished pieces, the final art is meant to last a long time, so it may be a good idea to choose light fast, waterproof pigment ink that doesn't fade. A benefit of waterproof ink is that you can go over it with watercolor. The ink lines will stay. A benefit of non-waterproof ink is that pulling washes from the lines can produce beautiful effects. Number 5. Color. I love the stark contrast of a deep black line on ivory white paper, but sometimes our eye craves color. Color can also help create a mood for a drawing. Fountain pens, especially ones with converters that allow you to fill from ink bottles, are unbeatable for the range of inks available. Do make sure you use fountain pen ink. You don't want expensive fountain pen to irreparably clog up if you forget to use it for a while. Thing number 6. Bleed. Some inks will bleed through paper unless you draw on thick paper. Other inks might feather on cheaper paper. Consider the paper you will draw on when choosing a pen and ink. Number 7. Portability. Dip pens have some ideal qualities, but if you're out and about, carrying a bottle of ink can be a hassle. In your studio, it may be perfect. Thing number 8. Ruggedness. Some pens break easily. You don't want to drop a fountain pen, press too hard on the nib, or even lend it to others precisely because it is fragile. Other pens are more rugged and better suited for rougher treatment while carrying around. Some fountain pens are designed to be rugged. Number 9. Price. The prices for pens vary greatly, and expensive pens are not necessarily better than cheap pens. There are some excellent cheap fine liners out there and also very expensive fountain pens meant to be collector's items and not really to write with or to draw with. Look up reviews for expensive pens before you buy one. An advantage of a cheap pen is that it doesn't matter if it breaks, gets stolen or is lost. They are inexpensive after all. Some cheap pens are great to draw with. My favorite pens on the go are relatively cheap pens that draw well. Number 10. Spare refillable. What if you are out and your pen runs dry? For pens that you take with you, it is helpful to be able to easily see how much ink is still in there, so you can always make sure you have a working pen with you. You can also work with refillable pens. You can often do this with fountain pens. Fountain pens come with converters too, and then you have a choice of a much wider variety of inks, but you need a bottle of ink to refill, which may be a slightly less portable solution. But most fountain pens allow you to insert very portable ink cartridges. Another option is to take spare pens with you. It is useful if you still have a label on them. Take the label off the pen you are using now. The pen with the label is the spare one. Number 11. Pressure sensitivity. What happens when you press harder or softer on the nib? With some ballpoint pens, the line will go from light to dark. This makes them great to sketch with, but the ink tends to be organic and thus fades over time. With most dip pens, the line will go from narrow to wide. Some pens, like fine liners, will not react to pressure, other than wearing out more quickly. Some fountain pen nibs have flags, but others may not, and the nib may break if you press too hard. Don't lend out your fountain pen or other fragile pens if only for this reason alone. The other person may have a heavy hand. Also consider whether you have a light or heavy hand while drawing. Number 12. Looks. Fountain pens are unbeatable when it comes to the looks of a pen, and it does add to the joy of drawing with when you have a beautiful sketchbook and a pen in front of you. Number 13. There is a plethora of websites that offer pen reviews. Check them out first, especially before you buy a more expensive pen. Tip number 14. A final bonus tip. The best pen to draw with is the one you have. When you have a pen you like, consider drawing with that pen instead of searching for another one. Looking up new pens can be a form of procrastination that keeps you from drawing. If you have a pen that is pleasing to draw with, stop searching and start drawing. How to choose. Try different pens and see what works for you. Also, you may find yourself holding a collection of pens you enjoy working with, and you may use different pens for drawing outside or in your studio. Thank you for listening.